The walls of Buckingham Palace have always whispered secrets, but never have those whispers sounded as heavy, as damning, and as final as they do now. What began years ago as scandalous rumors has hardened into a royal reckoning, one that has stripped Prince Andrew not only of his titles but of the very dignity that once defined his place within the monarchy. In a world where tradition meets scrutiny, where the crown's luster depends on the purity of those who wear it, the Duke of York's downfall feels like the ultimate betrayal. He was born into privilege, baptized into duty, and entrusted with the honor of a royal lineage that stretched back centuries. But today, that lineage is turning its back on him. This week, Buckingham Palace confirmed what many had long predicted but few believed would ever truly happen. Prince Andrew will lose every remaining vestige of his royal status. The prince prefix before his name, gone. His residence at the stately royal lodge, revoked. His protection by royal privilege, dissolved. A formal statement declared that the process of removing Andrew's royal titles has officially begun, as investigations into his connections with the late convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein deepen once more. For the palace, this was not just administrative housekeeping. It was damage control, survival. Andrew, now 65, had long been paying what insiders call a peppercorn rent for his opulent royal lodge, a symbolic payment, perhaps a few pounds a year, that allowed him to continue living like a royal without truly being one. But even that symbolic gesture is ending. His lease, once a shield, is now a liability. The bombshell came shortly after Andrew announced on October 17th that he was relinquishing his title as Duke of York, a move that seemed voluntary on the surface but was, by most accounts, forced upon him. The Mirror and other outlets reported that King Charles III himself had given the final word. The monarchy could no longer afford the burden of a scandal that refused to die. As the palace made its declaration, the tone was icy, deliberate, and final. His lease on Royal Lodge has, to date, provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease, and he will move to alternative private accommodation, the statement read. But the most telling line came next. These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. The monarchy, it seems, has made peace with sacrificing one of its own to preserve the rest. Royal author and historian Andrew Loney, speaking on the Palace Confidential program, revealed that the tide has fully turned against Andrew. "I'm getting 2 or 3 people a day coming forward," he said gravely. "And quite senior people, members of his staff, senior officials. They see which way this is going. They want to be on the right side of history." The implication is chilling. The silence that once protected Andrew has shattered. Former aides, once bound by loyalty and fear, are now speaking. Whispers from the corridors of power, from the cabinet office itself, are surfacing. The message behind the scenes is clear. Andrew is finished. He is, in Loney's blunt words, toast. Once untouchable, the Duke who moved with world leaders and diplomats now stands alone, shunned by the institution he once represented. Behind palace gates, the legal and ceremonial machinery of the monarchy is already grinding forward. The king is reportedly dispatching royal warrants to the Lord Chancellor, an unprecedented step to strip Andrew of his princely title and remove the style of his Royal Highness. Soon, Andrew will no longer be a prince of the realm. Officially, he will be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a man without titles, without public role, and without honor. The peerage roll, when noble titles are inscribed for history, will see one less name. And in that absence lies the symbol of a monarchy that is desperately trying to prove it can still be moral in an age that demands accountability. For the British people, this moment feels almost surreal. Prince Andrew was once regarded as the Queen's favorite son. Charming, confident, a war hero from the Falklands. His image was that of the loyal servant to crown and country. But behind the polished exterior lay choices that would eventually haunt him. Friendships forged in shadows, loyalties traded for influence, and secrets that refused to stay buried. The Epstein scandal was the match that set fire to it all. His disastrous BBC Newsnight interview, meant to clear his name, instead became one of the most humiliating public moments in royal history. The world watched as Andrew appeared detached, evasive, and unrepentant, unable to show empathy, unwilling to show regret. From that night on, his reputation was unsalvageable. The palace's statement ended on a somber note that revealed both sorrow and resolve. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been, and will remain with, the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. It was as much a message to the world as it was to Andrew, a declaration that, whatever his bloodline, he would no longer be shielded from consequence. And yet, behind the marble halls and velvet curtains, insiders say this decision has torn the family apart. The king's relationship with his brother was already strained, but this may mark a final, irreversible break. For decades, the royal family has managed its crises with quiet deals and dignified denials. This time, however, the silence was no longer tenable. The repercussions of this downfall ripple through the monarchy. Prince William, now heir to the throne, is said to have supported the firm stance, believing the family must protect the future, not the past. His wife, the Princess of Wales, reportedly echoed that sentiment, that the younger royals cannot carry the sins of those who came before. But others are not so resolute. Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife and longtime companion, is said to be devastated. Once allowed to remain at Royal Lodge with Andrew, she too will lose her royal residence. Their shared home, a symbol of a strange but enduring bond, is to be emptied, its future uncertain. It is the end of an era, not just for Andrew, but for a generation of royals who believed blood could shield them from scandal. To lose a royal title is no small thing. It is not merely an administrative act, it is a symbolic execution. The name Prince Andrew will fade from official records, invitations, and royal communications. His crest, his insignia, his honorary military roles, all gone. What remains is a man adrift, cut off from the family that once defined him. A man who once stood beside presidents and prime ministers now stands before history as a cautionary tale. The monarchy has survived wars, divorces, abdications, and betrayals. But this quiet, humiliating purge feels different. It is not just about one man's disgrace. It's about the soul of the institution itself. Can the royal family ever truly cleanse itself of scandal when its power is rooted in privilege? Can the crown still inspire loyalty when it must devour its own to survive? For now, the answer lies in silence. The palace will not speak further. The headlines will rage, the public will debate, and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will retreat into the shadows, a prince no more.